Hello and welcome back to my channel. What I am going to be doing, as you'll see on the screen here, I've got some black pens and two brushes, and I'm going to produce a small painting just using the blacks. So you won't have the full colour palette available, it'll just be the black. So first of all, before we start, I just want to explain one or two things. You'll see, just swing the camera around about a bit, you'll see that on the left hand side I've got a pen here which is permanent, and I've got a couple here on the right which is non-permanent. Now what do we mean by that? Well, I'm just going to show you on this piece of paper here. Using the permanent one, if you start to make a sketch using the pen, just swing that round so you can see the sheet. If you started to make this sketch, say you had this little cottage from the last the log cabin scene. Right, if you started to draw that with a permanent pen, it is what it says on the label or on the pen. It's permanent. I'm just going to get a brush and brush some water across there. And if you see that, nothing moves because the pen is permanent and the ink is set into the paper. It's got its pluses and minuses because, as the word says, permanent. Once you make the sketch, it's on the paper. You can't remove it. So you have to be careful with the sketching, but it's very good to have the permanent pen. Just I'll explain later, to sort of fill in some nice detailed bits, and it's good to know that it will be permanent. The other pens that I have, I mentioned, are non-permanent. You'll see that, I don't know if you can see that, it says non-permanent. Now, when you go into your local stationery shop, or if you buy it online, make sure you get two. You need a permanent and a non-permanent. Now, what is non-permanent? Well, as it says, again, if you sketch this in, this is a thicker pen. I'm just going to change that. That's a medium, this is a fine. But you'll find that when I put some water against the non-permanent, look what happens. You can see that the ink starts to come out of the lines and smudges. Now, that's got its pluses and minuses as well. And I'm going to show you how we can use the pens, both the permanent and the non-permanent, to produce the painting or the scene that I'm going to do in this video. Right, so as you have seen in some of the videos early on, and I keep mentioning them in any video, contrast is so important in a painting. Contrast is all about darks against lights. So how do we get darks and lights using these pens? Well, most of the colouring or shades, darks and lights, will be done with a non-permanent pen. I'm just going to show you here. I'm going to make one or two little boxes. Another one here, and the last one there. Right, I'm going to start from the right to the left, making this being the light and this being the dark. And light is clearly, I'd like to have some white paper, so I'm not going to put any marks on there at all. Now, moving up, if I just wanted a slight shade in the painting that I'm doing, I'm going to put some lines, very faint lines. And I'll show you what happens when you add water to these faint lines, you get that lighter shade, a sort of pale grey colour. Now, if we go to the next one, and I just make them slightly heavier, more of them. And if I add more water to this one, you'll see that that's darker again, darker than this one. And if you want to get some real strong darks, you just have to put more lines in. So I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit so you can see this in a bit more detail. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some more cross lines in. So there's more ink on that square, and I'm going to add some water now, and there you go. You can see it's a little bit of magic. We've got really strong darks. So I'm getting the darks working our way down to the lights. So that's important when you're doing these sketches with the pens. So right, what I want to do now is just go over and start a scene. So what I'm going to do is, if you remember the Christmas card scene, the small originals, if you can't remember, I think it's the last video that I did, kind of a flick back and see it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do this again, but just with the pens, so that it'll be black and white. So what I'm going to do first is, you would be better to do this. I would probably not do this, but I would go straight in with a pen. But what I suggest you do is get a small pencil first and make a sketch so you can go over the lines. So I'm just going to make the little snow scene, and I'm going to put this log cabin in here. It's slightly bigger than the last one, and have some trees up here, some trees there, and that'll do. Right, so I'm going to go in and go over that now with a felt, with a pen, which is, just to make sure, it is non-permanent. I think you can see that very clearly. There we go, non-permanent. So I'm going to start sketching in here. Mound of snow on the side. There's a little bit of path down here. Now remember what I said about this bit here again, just let you see this, how to get various shades of dark. You just add more pen and lines. So I'm going to put one or two little lines here to suggest mounds of snow. I'm going to make one or two lines here, and I'm going to start on the cabin. So I've got a line here, I'm going to take that up there, and right, now there'll be trees as well. Some trees up here, and there'll be trees up here. fir trees. Now the cabin, the light was coming from the moonlight was from the right hand side if I remember right. So I'm going to make this darker. I'm going to leave a bit for a window, but I'm going to put more lines. I'm going to put some across that way because I want to have this really quite strong dark colour. Now I want that bit there to be dark, if I remember rightly, and one or two lines for the wood and the log parts of the cabin. Right, the trees, I'm going to make them dark as well, so I need to put more lines in there. I'm going to put some lines here because I want that to be dark. Right, I think that'll do. Just going to make this path a bit darker. Right, that'll do for the sketch. So, now that we have the sketch complete, I'm going to start using some water and the smaller brush, that's a size 8, and I'm going to use it to spread the ink about. So I'm going to start with the trees up on the right hand side, and you can see very quickly that ink starts to move about. So, just going to take my time here. These conifers, winter fir trees, I'm just going to go up, follow the lines that are there. I'll show you how to use the permanent pen to finish off with some of these trees, but that'll do in the meantime. Right, I'm going to go over to the other side now. Same again, I haven't used a lot of water. I've got a paper towel here and I'm just dabbing it against it. I don't want loads of water, just carefully spreading this about here. Same with this conifers, first trees here. Just watch these carefully around the top of the cabin. I want to protect the white. And this bit here. Right, that's not too bad. I'm going to just leave the cabin itself for a minute. I just want to do this, the snow area. So there's one or two just soft lines, as you can see. So I'm just going to put a little bit of water there. Same on the right hand side. See how that creates a lovely mound effect. And this area here, this is the path, so this is a bit darker. I put some more lines in there, just to make it look a little bit darker. Right, I'm going to tackle the side of the cabin first here. Now, as you can see, I made plenty lines there, so I want to get this really strong dark. And this bit here. And I'm just going to be careful with these lines on the front of the cabin. I don't want too many there. Just going to put one or two lines on the windows. And that should do. This is the part that there could be some magic involved, so just keep watching. I'm going to change the sky effect. I'm going to make it an evening scene. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the non-permanent pen and I'm just going to sketch some lines up here. I'm going to leave a bit in the centre. I'm going to try something. Don't know if it's going to work, we'll soon find out. And I'm making this quite dark up here. I'm going to get the pen, put this out of the brush, and I'm going to start in with a dark sky. And what I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to paint a moon if I can. That bit that I left. Just going to bring that rest of that colour, the dark, down round about the trees, but I want to protect this bit. And here we are. Now try and get a round moon. It's not too bad. There we are. So what I'm going to do now is just carry on coming down here and just take it into the and there we are. To use the permanent pen now and put in one or two more bits for the trees just to give it a bit more detail. Right, there we are, and I think that's about finished. Just going to put more suggestion of trunks here. Right, that's it. Let's take the tape off again. And there we are, finished painting with one colour, black, and mixture of permanent and non-permanent pens. Well, here we are the next day, and I'm just having a look at the painting. Something that I always do with paintings, just to make sure everything's okay, or if there's anything I want to add. And I've noticed two issues. One is an error, and the second one is something that I have to make my mind up, do I want to add it or not, and I'll explain as we go. The problem with doing paintings like this, just making them up as you go along, I've noticed a glaring error, which hopefully you've spotted. When I started off doing the painting, I said the light was coming in from the right hand side, so that the front of the cabin would be lighter. And then I decided, in my wisdom, to make this an evening scene, and added a moon up on the top here. Now, in reality, that moon should be over, actually outside of the painting, to let the moonlight come in here. But hey ho, it's a Christmas scene, and I'm not going to change it now. The second point was, in the other smaller paintings that I did, I had snow falling in the scene. So the question is, do I want to add snow to this painting? And the answer is yes. So I'm going to get some white gouache that I use. I'm just going to let you see, there's a tube of gouache white paint. Now, I've had that for about 3 years. It lasts forever. So it's stronger than the watercolour paint, and it's ideal for this sort of situation. So what I've done is I've mixed up a big brush again full of white paint. I'm going to get another brush, and I'm going to use this splattering technique. So we'll see how we get on, and here we go. Right. Now this could make or break your painting. Once you start this, you sometimes wish you hadn't bothered. But it's turning out not too bad. I have 2 bits up there I want to fill in. And there we are. Let's have a zoom out a bit, have a look at this. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. 1 or 2 bits in the centre there. Right, that'll do. Well, here's the finished painting with the snow, and overall I'm quite pleased with it. I'm glad I put the snow in at the end. It just gives it more of a Christmassy feel. So there we are, another idea for you to produce cards or paintings if you want to send that to some of your family and friends. So I've got 1 or 2 others coming along, and again, as I say, I appreciate you watching. So until the next time, thanks again.